Jai Gurudev. This is Jai Kumar, social science teacher. Today we are going to discuss class 8, chapter 1, how, when, where. We are going to discuss a very simple chapter, and for this I'm going to use this teaching aid. One is learning material, that is textbook chapter 1 NCRT. Next one is PowerPoint presentation, and third one is our worksheet and notes. Let's discuss with this NCRT chapter how important are dates. In our day-to-day life, without date, no. One day is gone, next day is what date. Date is important. There was a time when historians were fascinated with the dates. There were heated debate about the date on which rulers were crowned or battle were fought. That's what we seen. That is history. The common sense of notion, even history was synonymous with the date. History means date will be there. That's what notion. So you may have heard people used to say, "I find history boring because it is all about memorizing dates in such a conception." Is it true? You might have your own birthday date. You may have know your close friends' birthday date, but you may not know the others. So that's what we are learning, the past dates. History is certainly not only the date. Behind that, there are the changes we see in the present. It is about finding out how things were in the past and how things have changed gradually in these days. And also see this history, as soon as we compare the past, the present, we refer, to time we talked before and after. How was before, now, how is going to be. Like that, we cannot stop. That's why a historian, E.H. Carr, is saying that history is not only a past, it's a unending dialogue between the present and the past, he says. So living in the world, we do not always ask historical question about what we see around us. We take things for granted, and if what we see has always been in the world we inhabited, but what we see has always been in the world inhabited. But most of us have our you know questions that actually are historical. Watching someone sip of a cup of tea while we walk on the road, what we see in the roadside, they're drinking tea. Have you ever thought of that when they started begin to, drink tea or coffee, or when we open the road window and we see the outside, the vehicles or the railways when they started, and we even see the newspapers, and that's what in the first page of the NCRT textbook it's cover up. Looking out the window of train, you may ask yourself, when we are railways built, and how did people travel long distance before the age of railways? This is what the question. And reading the newspaper in the morning, you may see what happened yesterday and day before day, what happened the past 15, 16 days. It's all talks about the issues and the event. Here is in your first page of textbook, you will look at this. When look at what it says, that you might have in Hindustan, there is one name is there and picture is there. So we would have heard about Hindustan, Times of India, like that. Here is Hindustan, the year closely if you look at 1782. What is giving here? Brahmanas offering the Shastras to Britannia. The frontispiece to the first map produced by the James Renal. So there was a Governor General, namely called Robert Clive. So he asked to prepare a map to India. Anyone want to conquer, there should be a roadmap. Or if anyone want to win, there should be a concrete plan. So the Robert Clive, as a Governor General, he asked to prepare a map to Renal. So, an enthusiastic supporter of British conquest India, Renal saw a preparation of maps as an essential to the process to dominate. So, anybody want to conquer or win, they should know. They should know some sort of knowledge about it, so that the picture here trying to suggest that Indian willing gave over their ancient textbook as their protector of Indian culture. That's what they are trying to give. So that's what you are seeing these pictures, and we are able to understand how those days was and how we were weak in these aspects. And coming to the second page, all such historical questions, there are a lot of questions refer us back to notion of time. But time does not have to be always precise. Date in terms of particular year or month. We cannot say exactly what fixed time or date. Then people in India did not begin drinking tea one fine day. When they started, we cannot accurately say this day, this time they started drink tea or coffee. So we cannot fix one single date on which British rule was established, or the national movement started in this particular date. All these things happened over a stretch of time. So we can only refer to span of time and approximate period over which particular changes became visible. We could see some changes. So why then do we continue to associate history with a string of dates? So this association has some reason. There was a time when history was an account of battle and big event. History means we'll record the battles and big event and all. But it was about ruler and their policy. Historians wrote about the years king was crowned, the year he married, the year he had child, and the year the next rulers succeeded to the throne. And for events such as these, specific dates can be determined. And histories such as these debate about dates continue to be important. As we have seen the history textbook of the past 2 years. So, as per NCRT concerned, the book name also closely, if you look at history books, what they title it, it's Our Past. One in sixth standard who I studied, in seventh standard Our Past two, now in class 8 what we are studying Our Past 3. So the textbook has divided in that way. In the past, uh, in sixth standard, in seventh standard, eighth standard, this kind of division, one Indian history, how they are divided, that we are going to discuss in a couple of times. They look at how people earned their livelihood, what they produced and ate, and not only that, how the cities has developed and market came up, how kingdom were formed and the new ideas spread, and how cultures and society has changed. So which dates, by what criteria do we choose as a set of date as important? So the dates we select, the dates around which we compose our story of the past are not important on their own. They become vital because we focus on a particular set of event is important. If our focus of study, if changes, if we begin to look at the new problems, new set of dates and will appear, as important. Consider an example. In the histories written by historians in India, the rule of each governor general was important. The British historian perspective, whoever the governor general ruled in India, their perspective, the governor general was important. So right from Warren Hastings and ended with the last viceroy, namely called Lord Mountbatten. In separate chapter, we each governor general we are going to discuss. And coming to the third page, you look at there are the names: Hastings, Wellesley, Bending, Dalhousie, Canning, Lawrence, Lytton, Ripon, Curzon, Harding, Irving. Irving only you can see Chennai, you can see and the Egmore one road, Gandhi Irving Road. So it's a wonderful things where the British predominantly ruled the post Madras. They have named their names. So we are going to discuss later. It was seemingly never-ending succession of the Governor General and Viceroys. So when we look at these Governor General, all the date in this history, activity, policies, achievement. So what we are looking to the Governor General, their policies, their achievement, their activities. So these are all comes under the history. It was as if there was nothing outside their lives, only their activities, their achievement, nothing there in the outside. There was. The chronology of their lives marked in different chapter of the history of the British India. So can we not write about the history of this period in different way? How do we focus on the activities of different groups and classes in Indian society within the format of history of Governor General? So that is the question arise over here. When we write history or story, we divide. Only Governor General aspect shall we write the histories? So the question arises, how do we focus their activities only? So when we start write the history, the story have to coherently, they have to divide into the chapters. Why do we do this? It is to give each chapter some sort of coherence, continuity. It is tell a story in a way that make some sense can be followed. So in the process of we focus only those events that help us to give shape to the life of British Governor General. The activities of Indians simply do not fit. They have no space. What then do we do? So clearly we need another format for our history. This would mean that the old dates will no longer have the significance they earlier had. A new set of dates will become more important for us to know. And how do we periodize? In 1817, okay, then come to how to periodize so long, broad history. Okay, so we learned in 1600 ancient Indian history some centuries, and also we learned in 7th century to 17th century, the Mughal histories and all we learned. When come to after the Mughal histories, later Mughal histories, 1817, when the Britishers came, James Mill, a Scottish, economist, yes, Scottish economist, started, writing history. How Hindu and Muslims, as of we learn, right, ancient Indian history, mostly the Hindu rulers, and medieval Indian history, mostly the Muslim ruler. you come to conclude that it's a Hindu history and Muslim history. But we cannot accept it's only Hindu or Muslim or the present, I mean, the 18th century is British, only their history or Christian history. We cannot divide it. We cannot accept it. Even the ancient Indian history, we have studied about Jain and Buddhist. And even in Mughal history, we have studied during that period and Zoroastrianism, Sikhism, and other so many things we have learned, right? So, history, how you dividing in James Mill, a British perspective, he wrote a book, A History of British India. In that, he how you periodized Hindu, Muslim, and British. This periodization came to be widely accepted. But can you think of any problem with this way looking at Indian history? We cannot. So why do we try and divide history into different period? We do so in attempt to capture the characteristics of time, its central feature as they appear to us. So the terms through which we periodize this democrate or the difference between the periods become important. They reflect our ideas about the past. They know how we see the significance of the change from one period to next period. Mill, who is a Mill? The James Mill is a Scottish economist. He thought that all Asian society were at lower level of civilization than Europe. And see, according to his telling of history, before the British came to India, Hindu and Muslim despot ruled the country. Religious intolerance, caste taboos, and superstition practice dominated in the societies. And coming to the fourth page, what it shows here, the Mill also felt that James Mill also felt that to civilize India to do, it was necessary to introduce European manners as if they are going to dominate rule in India. So they wanted to introduce European manners, arts, institution, and laws in India. So Mill, in fact, suggested that British should conquer all the territory in India to ensure the enlightenment and happiness of the Indian people. So for India was not capable of progress without the British help. So in this idea of history, British rule represented all the forces of progress and civilization. So the period before British rule was one darkness. Can such conceptions be accepted today? Just imagine, in any case, can be referred to any period of history as Hindu or Muslim did not. A variety of faith exists simultaneously. That's what I earlier discussed. In this period, why should we characterize an age only through the religion of the rulers of the time? So, to do so is to suggest that the lives and practices of the others do not really matter. We should also remember that even rulers in the ancient India did not all share the same faith. Moving away from the British classification, historians have usually divided into history into ancient, medieval, and British, or it's also called modern. But this division too has its problem. What's the problem? Modern, when you say, there is a question arise. It is a periodization that borrowed from the West, where the modern period was associated with the growth of all the forces of modernity in science in India, or reason, or democracy, or liberty, or equality. This question arises over here. So medieval was term used to describe a society where these features was term used to, this society where these features of modern society did not actually exist. There was no modernity in Indian society. So, can we uncritically accept this characterization of the modern period to describe the period of our study? As you will see in this book, under British rule, people did not have equality. So, just you can understand, there was a caste system, there was a religious intolerance, all many things, untouchability, all those inequality. And nor was the period one economic growth and progress. And many historians, therefore, this period is a colonial period. What is the new term is coming here is a colonial. What is a colonial? So in this book, we will read about the way British came to conquer the country and establish their rule. So the Britisher came to conquer the way economically dominated and initially, then and politically dominated from one country to another country, from mother country to their conquering countries, colonized in a way by economically, socially, politically, that kind of subjugate. That's what the subjugating a local nawabs and rajas. You will see how they establish control over the economy and the society, collected revenue to meet all their expenses, and every rule they need the money revenues. So they collected the taxes from the Nawaz, those days Rajas, and bought the goods they wanted low prices, produced crafts they needed for export, and also will understand the changes that came about as consequence. You will also come to know about the changes British rule brought about the values and the tastes, customs and practices. What we are we communicating in the language or semi or fully the kind of Western, the institutions and other things is all because of their taste, customs and practices. When subjugation of one country, that's what, when subjugation of the one country by another country, le- by leading to these kind of kinds of politically, economically, socially, culturally changing it, we refer this kind of process what we called is the colonization. So we will, however, find that all the classes and groups did not experience these kind of changes the same way. That is why the book, even some kind of people, they didn't experience this kind of colonies things. That's what your book is called Our Past in the Plural. So next, how do we know administrations, records, and survey becomes important? What official records not tell, and this this few more things we'll discuss in the next class. Before that, let's see what is in the presentation. Um, so you can also see in this screen, what I'm going to show is it's a PowerPoint presentation. So just have a glance another 5 minutes so that you are able to understand how and where the system. If you we can Google it and search many things. So in this, how the CAN system was, and what is the history study about the past. meaning of the history, changes occur over a time, and caste system, and criteria to uh, present day state of history, and past versus present state of history, criteria to select set of history, and criteria to periodize. The Scottish economist, political philosopher, what he said, that and all is there. And Warren Hastings, he became the first Governor General of India, 1773. In addition, we should know this, and also we later we come to know another chapters. Warren Hastings was a competent, honorable, and foresighted administrator whose policy, while some controversial, decisively shaped and stabilized future Anglo-Indian relation, the controversy surrounding his administration made him to subject of impeachment. Impeachment to remove anyone from the higher post. They will bring impeachment in the parliament, and you know they go for the voting. Then he has to voting against him. Then he has to relieve from his office. So that's what impeachment got to him. And criteria to periodize by the Scottish economist, as we discussed earlier. He wrote a book, History of British India, in that he mentioned into Muslim British law. So coming to prior to British rule, before British took over the India, there were Hindu Muslim ruler was used to exploit India. Furthermore, India strongly believed in caste and multiple religious superstition that we cannot deny. James Mill felt that only British rule could civilize India and teach them manners, arts, and laws. And ancient in the Indian history classification, ancient, medieval, and modern Indian history, but this date also not accurate. And 4000 BC to 500 AD, but it's 700 AD. Medieval history is 700 AD to 1707. Modern uh, or colonization history in 15, 17th century to present day. So coming to the time notations, already BC and AD and all, you would have learned before Christ. AD means it's not after the uh, Christ, or it's an Anno Domini, which means that a year of the Lord, year of the Lord. And worldwide, the historians all they accepted, you know, uh, the date partly accepted as a source of history. You know, the birth of Jesus Christ, a new era has begun. The new year we are celebrating, year one, January 1 to today, 2028 April. So we are adding ED. So birth of Jesus Christ before was the date was there, what we call it the before Christ, as you know. And coming to source of writing history, conducting survey, you can see first historical uh, survey, archaeological survey, and